What's up, y'all? Welcome to Draw Every Day. My name is Sean, and today we are going to be drawing a fan favorite, Captain Marvel. No, not that one, the other one. Well, that's warmer, but not quite right. No. Of course not. We're going to be drawing Alex Ross's design of Captain Marvel from the 1996 graphic novel Kingdom Come, written by Alex Ross and Mark Waid. But before we get to the rest of the drawing, if you could click subscribe and then strike the like button with the speed of Mercury, I'd really appreciate it. We're going to be giving away a Huion H610 Pro at 1,000 subs. We're rapidly approaching that, and I'm going to let you know how to be entered at the end of the video. Okay, so I used a couple tricks to get the symmetry on this pose correct, and now I'm doing something that I don't always do, which is I'm putting the shading of his costume, essentially the color of his costume, on a layer beneath the main line work. The reason I'm doing that is I know that I'm going to add a lot of costume details later, and I want the maximum flexibility. You may have noticed also that I used the Cynic's triangle nose trick to get this face started. It's a really powerful technique because the triangle, depending on how you draw it, it really tells you a lot about the dimensionality of the face and the angle. And for me, it's just been very helpful in getting the landmarks of the face placed quickly. Now what I'm doing is I'm using another new layer to add some of these other costume details, like his arm wraps and the fold on his chest. I guess now's a pretty good time to talk about how I am basically laying these files out in general. On top, I've got the gradient map. Then I have a paper texture. That's the sort of eggshell paper texture. It's got a couple dots and imperfections. You can see some of the fibers. And then beneath that, I've got all of my border and illustration layers, and those are all just black and white, and they are set to multiply. This makes it so that wherever I paint black, it shows up, and wherever I paint white, it looks as though it's being erased. You can see this clearly when I liquefy because it just becomes black and white. And you'll notice that the areas where it was gray become reddish, and the areas where it's black become my darkest color, that dark brown. The reason I like to work like this is that I can obviously add the shading and create the forms very quickly, but then if I need to go back and add details that are actually meant to be on top, I can paint in white and then add a drop shadow or something beneath it, and that's different than erasing it, which when I'm working with multiple layers, sometimes could make it look muddy. It's just a way to give myself the maximum flexibility while keeping the look of an ink drawing. Right now I'm working on some facial details. I knew that I really wanted to make him look like the photo reference that Alex Ross uses for SHAZAM. He's got a great wide chin with a cleft in it. He's got curlier hair and just a general more, dad look than Alex Ross's Superman. I think the way that I've drawn him, he actually looks a little bit like the main antagonist of Cobra Kai in The Karate Kid. I don't actually know that actor's name, but I recently saw him in a movie, VFW, which was a great, a great slasher with a lot of really great older actors, and he happened to be in it, so maybe he was on my mind. As you can see, the advantage of having that red fill layer on a separate layer is I was able to erase it out very easily and create that neckline. Now it's time to draw the hands, which this was actually a fairly easy hand pose, although I did end up cheating and I flipped the hand since this is essentially a fully symmetrical pose. Fun fact, this pose in bodybuilding is called a front lat spread. I didn't know that, but I was trying to look up pictures of this specific pose and I needed to figure out what it was called, and I found out that front lat spread, it's one of the 8 required moves for any bodybuilder, so informative. And the reason they put their hands like that on their waist is to kind of try and create an optical illusion to make their waist look thinner. All right, now I'm drawing one of my favorite elements of Captain Marvel's costume. Also, by the way, I'm calling him Captain Marvel. He was called that for most of his life, and I think that having his name changed to the name of the wizard who gave him his powers, which is also the word he says to activate his powers, is just a little bit weird. Like, what, is he never going to say his name ever? Just in conversation? That's very strange. So anyway, Captain Marvel. It's fine. It's not that confusing. I have always loved this little side sash cape thing. It's not really a cape. It just sort of hangs off of him and it looks very regal. I've always loved asymmetrical capes like this. Power Girl, I think, has an asymmetrical cape, and I've always just loved that style. Personally, I think it was a missed opportunity in the movies to go with the hooded New 52 version of SHAZAM, because the hood just does not look right. Injustice did the same thing with their very strange design. I will say, at least in the movie version, the lightning bolt isn't tucked into his pants. I want answers, Ed Boon. But regardless, just the hood is not cool. Let's give him a shoulder cape and a waist sash. Again, let's remember I am pro sash. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't hate the movie costume and I really liked the movie. But yeah, the hood is dumb. Did he even wear the hood? It's dumb. All right, I'm drawing on his sash. Again, not a belt. One of the fun things to do with this brush was kind of give that reflective gold shine effect. You can see I flipped the canvas horizontal there. You do that by pressing R in Photoshop. Going back and painting a little bit more musculature, but I did push it back again because I really don't want him to look too defined. One of the things I've always loved about Alex Ross's style is how he draws superheroes how they would look if they were wearing spandex in real life. Now, as we know, in real life it doesn't look that cool, but Alex Ross is able to draw them larger than life and they just still look incredibly powerful without having every muscle defined, which is really not very realistic. You knew I had to add a border, so I'm going and doing that, adding a little more hair detail. This was actually a really fun kind of hair to draw, that sort of thick, curly, gelled up hair. It's just a little more fun than your average, soft swoops. All right, now I'm drawing some more detail into his cape. It has a golden border, and I was just drawing this sort of fake detail style. You just do little squiggles, but if you do it right, it actually looks like, I don't know, it might be filigree or something a little more interesting. You be the judge of that. Adding some yellow, I decided to go with the colorized look for this one like I did for Nightcrawler. I'm kind of enjoying iterating this style and seeing, where we can take it rather than the monochromatic style that I tend to work in because I'm lazy. Now, because I set this whole thing up with gradient maps, one interesting thing is that I can't just go back and paint on a multiply layer to add new colors the way that you might generally colorize digital art. What I'm doing instead is I add another gradient map and then I'm just masking it out. Start with full black and then I can paint in the areas that I want to be yellow. And I can keep doing that with various different adjustment layers. Coming up here pretty soon, I'm going to add one for the skin tones. And now that I've got that locked in, what I'll be able to do is add a mask to that layer and I'll be able to paint out some highlights and just add a little more dimensionality to this. I've got the shadows that I've drawn on the black layer and now I'm knocking out some highlights on the skin tone layer. And here's the final piece. Let me know what you guys think. Did I do a good job? I'm really happy with how the filigree on his cape, especially where the shadow from one cape and the other overlays. I think it actually came out really cool and actually looks like gold. I'm always trying to find new ways to use this brush to define different textures, whether it be gold or fabric or hair. It's just so versatile and it's just a fun challenge to use one brush to define everything rather than using, more custom brushes. All right, guys, what did you think? Did you like the SHAZAM movie? Personally, I loved it. I think the whole DC universe should learn a lot from the tone of SHAZAM. DC works well in that lighter, more golden age feel. Don't forget, we are giving away a Huion H610 Pro graphics tablet at 1,000 subs. All I need you to do to be entered is to subscribe, turn on notifications, like and leave a comment on this video. That's going to enter you to win the Huion H610 Pro, and it's also going to enter you to win this other prize, which is a $50 gift card to Inprnt. I'm giving these away at every 250 subs. The next giveaway is going to be at 750 subs, and that should be coming up before too long. Please subscribe. Thank you so much for watching the video. My name's Sean. This has been Draw Every Day, and we'll be back with another video soon.